Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Corruption at the highest level. It's the only way to define what is happening at this moment with Donald Trump. And of course, the palace in the sky, his gift from the Qataris, which he evidently has decided to accept, even though the ethical questions are so profound and severe. I remember when, in the 1970s, the whole question of petrodollars and the influence of oil money was a big issue here in the United States. When the idea that a president of the United States would accept a gift, a $500 million gift, we are told, from the Qatari government, or frankly, when the Saudis, one of the most brutal regimes ever when it comes to human rights, and who remembers or who would choose to forget the tragic death of Khashoggi? These are real moments that we need to confront. And the question is, what happens when a president of the United States profits personally from what he's doing in foreign policy? And not only he profits, but his children profit. And we know that tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions perhaps, have gone to the Trump children because of the petrodollars that are now flowing into the Trump family coffers. And yet, there seems to be no outrage. Do you remember Hunter Biden and Burisma and the whole question of how much money he made dealing with the Russians and the Chinese? Do you remember all that? Well, it seems that when it comes to Donald Trump, if you remember the old expression, a Teflon presidency, there is no sense of that kind of corruption. I want to be crystal clear in my comments this morning. I do not believe that what Donald Trump is doing is ethical or proper or right. And I believe that if, in fact, this airplane is delivered as a gift, what kind of gift is it? The Secret Service has already said this is a disaster. They would have to strip the plane down to its bolts. They would have to clean up the wiring. They would have to do everything in order to make sure that there was not a security breach. And why is the President of the United States not relying on an American manufacturer, Boeing, to produce the new Air Force One? That's the deal. That was what was supposed to happen. I guess what really gets to me is the deafening silence from the Republicans. Oh, there are a few who have been speaking out, but most are strikingly silent at the blatant corruption in the Trump family and the Trump administration. Can you imagine what our founding fathers would have thought? Did anybody stop to read the emoluments clause in the Constitution of the United States, which says particularly not to accept gifts from princes and kings and foreign leaders? There is something fundamentally flawed. But it's not just Trump, and it's not just his family, which are profiting off the presidency. We've come a long way since Sherman Adams, who was the deputy to Dwight D. Eisenhower, was forced out because he accepted a vicuna coat as a gift. Do you understand the ethical breaches which we are now witnessing? And anybody with a brain in their head can understand it. Do you remember the word divestment? Do you remember when Donald Trump was first elected to the presidency and he said he was going to divest himself, turn everything over to his children? Well, of course he didn't. And nobody said a word. I want to be as clear as I can be. It wouldn't matter to me if this was a Democrat or a Republican, whether it was Trump or Biden or anybody else. It's wrong. You remember the whole thing with Hunter Biden? You remember my comments about the fact that the selling of the presidency was something beyond my comprehension? I condemned it, even though the Bidens were Democrats, and I basically supported the Biden policies. But do you understand? There is a deafening silence now on the question of presidential ethics. And to me, that is one of the most disturbing aspects of this whole business. I wanted to relate to you my feeling that there are reasons to be proud of what America does in the world. But when you have a situation like the one we are witnessing now, and there's another question that needs to be raised. You all are aware that we have now given sanctuary, asylum, to 54 former South African residents. They are now welcomed into the United States as people seeking asylum from persecution. White farmers. What's going on here? Well, I know what's going on. The influence of Elon Musk and others in the White House who want a white country. It's very clear. I regret having to do this podcast. I regret having to talk about this particular situation. It disturbs me profoundly. So I want all of us to think what it would mean for us to see this kind of profiteering off the presidency of the United States. Harry Truman wrote a book back in 1959 called Mr. Citizen. And in it, the former president described how he was approached with all sorts of offers, and he wouldn't take them because he wouldn't demean the presidency. He wouldn't sell the presidency. He wouldn't sell the fact that he was a former president. Where is the ethical standard in this administration? And how can we be dealing with the Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia simply to exploit for money? Oh, and I'm not even going to get into the fact that Donald Trump is being accompanied by many people from big business here in the United States. I have to tell you, the ethical violations lead me to the conclusion that the Trump administration is without a doubt the most corrupt administration in American history. This is corruption at its highest, and the deafening silence that we are hearing from Republicans is stunning. 3 cheers to the Democrats. They're pointing it out. They're talking about it. And I want to believe that this should not be a partisan issue. Democrats and Republicans should agree that what Donald Trump is doing now is wrong. Somebody asked me, is this an impeachable offense? In a normal time, I believe it would be. And ultimately, the Republicans will be held accountable. They will be. They must be. In the meantime, the corruption continues, the profiteering continues, and we need to expose it. I'm John Rothman, trying to send a message that I hope is listened to by one and all. Never in American history have we had such a corrupt president or a corrupt presidency. That's the simple truth. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, of course, is our goal. You can interact with me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Many of you have my email. Go ahead, shower me with your comments. And, of course, my special thanks to Gogo Zoger, who does such a great job producing this podcast. I am John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I'll be back tomorrow.